allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
John Baisley, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Joe Conti, Third Ward.
Michael Safone, Fourth Ward.
Joseph Lepore, Fifth Ward.
Ann Shershin, Sixth Ward.
Todd Tancredi, Supervisor.
Alicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Adriana O'Dearneff, Attorney for the town.
Okay, we just have one item on the agenda tonight. We had a couple other ones that have been withdrawn simply because they just need a little more fine tuning. So I'm going to ask John Page to come up, and he was here probably about a year ago or so, and he has a project that up on Creek Road that he just wants to, I think, refamiliarize the board with. So why don't you come on up and tell us what you're thinking about? And
certainly. Good evening. I'm John Bodendorf from Hudson Land Design. We're the engineer for Mr. Page. And like you said, we were here a little over a year ago and with a concept plan. Since that time, we've advanced the plans to meet the town's site plan requirements, and we recently made a submission to the planning board to appear before them for the first time. But Mr. Wilson suggested that we come back here since there has been a little bit of turnover, and since we have advanced the plans beyond concept, which we had last year. So for those that were here last year, it'll be sort of a recap for anyone that's new. Essentially what we're looking at are two parcels on the east side of Creek Road. They're located north of the rail trail and south of Pendell Road. They're currently vacant, and the parcel that has actual frontage on Creek Road, Mr. Page owns. The adjacent parcel has frontage to no road, and Mr. Page has an option on that one to acquire it. The parent parcel, Mr. Page's parcel, is zoned neighborhood business, and the adjacent parcel, the southern portion is neighborhood business, and the northern portion is R20. What Mr. Page is looking to do is get the property rezoned to RM so that he can pursue an apartment development. We believe it's a much better use for the site, makes more sense, especially in this area. The typical uses that are allowed in the neighborhood business district need a lot of exposure, and this particular piece, because of the way it's configured and the amount of frontage it has, there's only a small area up front that you can really be seen from Creek Road, so we don't feel that a commercial development would be very successful here. And there's also a similar type development nearby that I don't know what the tenancy is currently, but I know it was Next to nothing.
yeah, the new one that's still under construction, or
Correct.
Okay, I know what you mean. Where's that in relation to yours? Is that south?
I'm pretty sure it is, it's south of this piece.
Okay.
Where the strip bar used to be.
Yeah.
In fact, that was the impetus to move forward on this. I was waiting for that to come down.
Okay. Yep. So you'd just be north of that location.
Yeah, we actually had someone else that owned that property before. How long have you owned that property?
This piece,
Yeah,
10 years.
10 years? That's the same property where the strip club was, right?
No, this is north of where that was.
Okay. Farther down north, or where are we at? Close to, give me a point of,
Clarify what.
where exactly is
question,
this
Mike.
property? Is it on the corner?
Do you know where the Stewart's is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right across the street.
Right, and,
Yep.
but we had another parcel, somebody came in a few years ago that wanted to rezone that. Mr. Battistoni wanted to rezone that for housing, and we said no at that time because we had the strip joint there. So that's, I know we said if we got rid of the strip joint, it would be a good spot to put housing. We do need it, so I'm definitely in favor of that. But we did, I remember, it wasn't that far long ago. He asked for it. Was he working for you at the time? No? All right. That's what I remember.
I vaguely recall the conversation. I'm wondering if it might have, there are two houses that are immediately north of
It
this.
was the Salad property,
I'm
right.
thinking those may be it.
It was the Salad property and.
Yeah, you've got Lou Sala's property, basically his driveway comes
Right,
out a
and
little
I
to the
think,
north of the Gulf Plaza.
Stenger owned some
Then this property
over there.
Right, and then there's a couple of properties with houses that are fairly close to the road, and I think maybe those were the ones.
Well, it doesn't matter now, it's a moot point, but I'm just saying, we did look at this at one time. I just want to say, for the record, there was a reason why we didn't rezone all of that property quite a few years ago. Because of that reason, we did not want to put housing next to a strip club.
Right.
So, I have kids and, whatever, we just felt it wasn't appropriate, so
agree.
thank God that club came down. So, all right, I'm definitely in favor of the project. Do you know, how much land do you have there, and how many units could you get on there?
We could potentially put 56.
Yeah, with the two parcels combined, it's just under 9.5 acres. And per the RM zoning, it essentially works out to 6 dwelling units per acre. So that, by zoning, we could pursue 56, but we're showing a layout. Yeah, we're showing a layout for 40 units.
Now, are you looking at 2 and 3 bedroom units, 1 and 2 bedroom units, for profit,
I'm thinking
senior?
primarily ones, but it's going to be young professionals and empty nesters, so there might be some ones with a den or potentially a few twos. That's something we're still working out.
Any,
So the piece of property that Mr. Page has the option on from Mr. Sala,
This
that
piece.
piece. That piece has got to be added to the first parcel to give you enough acreage to qualify to put the apartments on there.
Well, that gets us to the 56 number, yes.
And you don't have any plans to do 56, you're planning on in the area of 40. 16
correct.
less than you could.
Correct.
Correct.
And you realize how wet that ground is. I mean, there's really nothing back there on that strip along the creek.
Yeah, we're not proposing anything. That's going to remain basically open space.
But you're going to remove the wrecked cars and the garbage that's down there.
Yeah, there's a couple
Yeah.
cars that snuck over the line from the junkyard, and they'll definitely be long gone.
You know, you got to be careful with cars when they start to move by themselves. So you're going to clean that part out, and you're asking for 40 units instead of the 56 that you could.
Correct.
Okay, and what about the water from your site? Where are you sending that water?
The stormwater?
Yeah. Right.
Well, we've
Is that part of your plan? Have you already done it?
Yeah, we've got a preliminary design done. We haven't worked out all the details yet. We realize that's going to be a very key component to it, but we're showing stormwater management and treatment right on the site.
On the site, not
Yeah.
down the back hill and into that creek?
Nope.
No.
Right in this vicinity.
Okay,
All the catch basins go through a filtration system and lead to that.
go to that. So your plan then is to put it all on site, keep it on site, and you'll have no negative impact to the creek behind you, and you won't be in any wet areas.
Exactly.
Right.
And we've got water, sewer, and gas, and we're on the bus route. The rail trail's right there. It just seems like it makes sense.
Mr. Krakauer was on the board the last time you were here. He was very concerned about density. Have you reduced the density since you were here the last time?
I want to say that we were showing a concept that had pretty much the same density, but I'd have to look back. I wasn't.
Are you sure you weren't higher than that?
It's
well, at any rate, this is where it is, so
Yeah.
You're right,
whether
yeah.
they were or not,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
kind of
As a
irrelevant.
comparison, across the street, Colonial Manor Apartments, it's on 8.56 acres. That's 116 units.
Yeah,
So
I know
we're-
that's what he was
Yeah.
concerned about.
We're over 9 acres, and we're asking for 40, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
But since it was at the concept level, it's very possible that we did show a maxed out 56 unit development.
I think 40 is fine, especially it's 16 under what you could do. That's not cramming.
We believe it's the highest and best use for
Yeah.
the property.
And how many stories are your units?
2.
2. Oh, yeah, so you're well within the zoning.
Any on-site amenities at all, clubhouse or anything? Bless you, just strictly
Suppose
housing?
we're maintaining all this
Well, hopefully, if you decide that this goes forward, it would help
Put a
that
picnic
project
table
next
down
door.
there. Sorry.
I said, I'm hoping if this project goes in, it'll help the project next door, get some tenants,
I would think so.
Yeah, that'd be good.
laundromat, something like that.
Pizza, something to service the school, maybe?
Could be a start to clean up your whole neighborhood up there, Mike. Bring it back to life.
I asked him before, he said, if this is successful, we look at buying the junkyard and cleaning it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Page, just a question. What kind of, what kind of marketing you do with this apartment, this buildings? Or it's a senior,
Young professionals and empty nesters would be the primary target.
okay. And do you have a photo or a picture of like the facade, what the building looks like?
John, do you have that with you? It's very similar to what's across the
I'm sure
street.
it'll be much better than what it is now, but.
It's a lot like Colonial Manor, but it's up to the times. That was built nearly 30 years ago. So it's the same footprint as the Colonial Manor buildings, but they're brought up to date and the codes are
So 2 stories, no elevator, correct?
correct, garden style.
Garden style, yeah.
Yeah, I apologize. We submitted elevations, typical elevations to the planning board, but I don't have those with me tonight.
Okay, no problem. We're just trying to learn the project. It's new to me.
What's the build, timing for the construction? It would, I know you got to go through the planning board phase and all that, but are you basically talking next spring at this point, or is this something you could do during the winter?
It could be done in the winter.
Okay.
I would foresee, though, with just hitting it heavy in the spring.
Yeah, okay, good.
And do you have an idea of your price point yet?
Yes, just under $1,000 per unit. And we're not looking for any subsidies or any pilot or anything. It's just strictly market rate.
And as you know, in this particular area, there's more development of apartments being built in the near future, correct?
Yes.
You do know, okay.
Yeah.
Now, you say you're starting in the winter. You think maybe because of the college will impact the traffic of construction?
I mean, once you get in there and get all your stuff set up, you're not,
Yeah.
you got your equipment on site.
College traffic may impact him more than he impacting college traffic.
Yeah.
It's true.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
No,
Okay.
real good start.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming back in. Looks good.
Anything else?
Anything else?
Just don't wait a year to come back and see us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that brings us to the end of our agenda item.
The call for the last.
Let me run through committee reports. Finance,
Nothing to report.
Fire Advisory,
I have nothing to report.
Government Ops.
Yes, I have something to report. I actually went to a forum on energy and low-income families. So I learned a lot about what programs are available for low-income families and how to help subsidize their energy costs. But also, I was primarily there to learn about what is available in solar and about community solar projects. So it was really interesting.
Excellent. Land Use and Planning,
Nothing to report.
Personnel,
Nothing to report.
Recreation.
Day camp is moving along. Registration for the first couple of weeks is a little bit light. The second weeks are starting to pick up, so there's a lot of empty space. Anybody wants to get involved, they still go on the town website and sign up. Tom's got just about everybody hired and we're ready to go. Summer concerts will be at Greenville again. The grant that we got for the kayak place in the Village of Wappingers is there. During the Ramble this year, we're gonna go rent kayaks out there, give everybody, river-type tours down there. Ramble, that'll be available. We're working on a new senior newsletter that'll go out, sort of like, looks almost like a church bulletin with ads in it to cover the cost.
Great.
Pavilion's just about done, which is a great plus for our day camp program. And we're working with the coloring and getting a Zumba water class up there for the seniors. So it's moving ahead quite a bit, so that's both of them together, the recreation.
Okay.
Jay, do you know when they're gonna start building that kayak center down there?
No, they're still in the design phase, I think. There's pictures of it up, but they really haven't gotten that far yet.
It's not
There's
gonna
not a lot to do. The building's basically gonna stay the way it is. They gotta clean the property up and things like that. I'd say probably 2 years will be up and going.
All right, so you covered seniors too?
Yep.
Technology and equipment
Nothing to report.
and infrastructure.
The committee met, and this committee does a lot of discussion on drainage, which is natural for the infrastructure committee. At the last meeting, there was a discussion on different projects where there are problems now, where we seem to be addressing a spot problem. The creek is plugged here, or things like that. Discussion was to see if we could come up with a master list, similar to what was done in 1995, 94. Asking each one of my fellow board members to send me an email or tell me, and see if you can give me some kind of order, if you know where there's drainage problems, so that I can bring it back to the committee and we can make some kind of master list, put them in some kind of order, and then come back to the board and say, these are the problems, these are what we think we need to do and how to address them. So the first part is to make an inventory of the problems, and if it's like any other ward, the second ward has a bunch of them. So please, and I'll be sending an email so that you can respond back to me, so I can bring it to the next infrastructure committee. I'm under the impression that we did something like this in about 1994, 1995, and we had some success coming out of that planning process with addressing some of the concerns. Well, it's a few years later, so I think we need to redo it and start over again.
All right.
So
Other
you're
than
talking
that-
about drainage issue on the road?
Runoff.
Runoff?
Yeah.
You know, the creeks, people getting flooded basements. Somebody does something along a creek bed, and the next thing we have, people upstream have water in their houses, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
All right, and so at this point, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for public comment on town issues.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone here would like to address the board? Doreen?
Just like to point out, Councilman Carlos, when you were just talking about drainage, it's not always just the creek. Sometimes it's other development projects that where people did not have issues before, and then there's a new development that goes into their neighborhood, and then it causes them problems. So it could be a variety. Again, it's not just creeks, but.
And Doreen, if you know of stuff like that, or you know people that have, please have them communicate that so I can put them on the list. I'd rather have as a complete list as possible and take things off than to miss something.
Okay, great. The only thing there was a question here tonight about the Page project, about the cost. And last time they were here in April of 2014, Mr. Page said it would be roughly $850 for rent, and now he said $1,000, so it appears to have gone up some. And we'd just like to point out again that, as far as the density, they are basically buying that other parcel from Mr. Sala, just so they can put those 40 acres on the smaller parcel. So again, if they were just using the 5-acre parcel that they own, it would only be 30 units that they're allowed. So they're actually going to put more in, even though it's going to be on that same parcel, but they're saying, well, we could really put more, but, that other area is wet from what I understand. They have some flooding issues there, so anyway, if they didn't have that other parcel they were buying, they wouldn't be able to have that many. Todd, do you have an update on that audit that was going to be done for utilities and where they were going to look at the utility bills? It was last October that you...
They completed, yeah,
Okay.
it was an audit of our light poles, basically.
Right.
And they completed it, and, basically what happens is they complete the audit and send the results to Central Hudson. And I don't know exactly how long we have to wait, but I can check. But, we're waiting to hear from Central Hudson, their response. What they've told us in the past is typically when they find these discrepancies and errors, basically, in billing, and, probably, especially in a town like Poughkeepsie, a lot of the information that Central Hudson's using is probably years old, and they just don't update it. We're expecting a refund, and that's how they would get paid, from a percentage of the refund. But they did complete the light pole audit,
Okay.
and that information's going in Central Hudson.
Okay, and the reason I asked is because I know that it was said that this portion needed to be completed before you could look into the potential for the replacing the street lights with LEDs in order
Yes.
to, reduce costs that way. So
Yes.
is that's still the next step?
It's still the next step, yes. Yep.
Okay.
So I think and I agree with, I think it's something the town ought to pursue. I think LEDs are the way to go, and.
Yeah, it's not just energy, it's cost too.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're saving money on that.
I think we could potentially save a substantial amount of money. Yeah, no question about it.
Okay. And then my last question or comment is, do you have any idea how much it's going to cost for the walkway marathon, for any extra, policing that's going to have to be required by the town?
The chief told me he's estimating probably about 3,000.
So one of the things about that, and this is primarily a fundraiser for the walkway over the Hudson, and I realize it's bringing people into town, but now that affects the town police budget, it affects fire district budgets because they're going to be putting medical services. It said the county sheriff's office, the city of Poughkeepsie Police, town of Lloyd Police. So this is, again, a benefit for the walkway over the Hudson, but it is costing taxpayers money too. I know that the county said they're using it, I guess, as part of their sort of emergency preparedness training, but they get some grants. Again, that's still paid for by the taxpayers, state and federal grants. So, but the walkway has a registration fee. They make the money off of it, and then it does end up costing extra money for the taxpayer. So. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Anyone else? Mr. Armstrong?
Couple of questions. I noticed that they're doing blacktop work on Spring Road already. Could you give us an update on where they're at with that?
They're ahead of schedule.
Yeah,
I
they
think
look
it's
like
called a binder. They're putting a binder down.
Or just a binder?
And yes, but they are ahead. They should be done sometime in July.
If I wasn't so lazy, I'd walk the road to see what they're doing, but I'm too lazy to walk that far.
The people who live along there, by the way, it's Sunup Construction.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
repeatedly commented about how nice, how cooperative, and how really good the construction company is. This is a
Well,
paid
that's good.
advertisement. But the truth is, more than one. I was out knocking on doors last weekend.
Good. And I was surprised to see it. I said, boy, they look like they're moving along pretty good. And that's good because they're saying not till August, I guess,
Yeah.
but hopefully it'll be done maybe the end of July. The other comment on this Page project here, I was just thinking, it said it was for empty nesters and professionals. And if I'm not mistaken, not too long ago, there was quite a discussion about the buildings being put up on 9G, about securing that it wouldn't be taken over and just college students wind up going in them.
That's the
Is
one
this-
down on Fulton
Is this
you're
something
talking
that should
about.
be
there.
looked at with this project as well? To control that the students don't come in and take it over?
Not necessarily, because it's privately owned, so they have to maintain it, they have to provide, on-site, management.
Well, the reason I bring it up is the reason the situation is a problem evidently over in that area.
Well, it has been, but we've
I don't
cracked
know if
down
there's a
on,
way to control her if you
Well,
legally
we've-
can, but
Yeah.
cracked
maybe
down
it-
quite a bit with the noise
Something to
ordinance
look
and the
at.
nuisance law. We haven't had many issues at all this year.
a couple other issues. I don't know if I mentioned it once before, but on Hooker Avenue by Wilbur Boulevard, there's a gas station right there across the street from Wilbur. And when you're going up Hooker, every sign on the side of the street says no parking anytime, all the way up. From that whole side of that, the south side, from Poughkeepsie line all the way up. And every time I've come by there and turned onto Hooker from Wilbur, if you're not paying attention, there's so many cars parked there that he's just done service on evidently and parks them there that you got to swerve out around them if you're not realizing that they're going to be there.
Yeah, I know where you mean.
Now, they all say no parking. Do we have a special dispensation for him or something that he, I understand the
Well,
parking lot is always
actually,
full.
that's the city side of the street.
That
That
south
is the
side, the
yeah,
city
yeah,
side?
because across the street is my ward.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and that's in, that side of Hooker is in the city. So yeah, the where the lines go, it
How
doesn't
far
make
up
it.
does it go for the city? Do you know?
Pretty much runs
All the way
down.
up,
It
past the
goes-
funeral home, all the way up?
Oh
that
yeah,
road?
all that's.
The homes in the city,
And then the other side of the street is Ward 6.
yeah.
It's weird.
Okay, well,
Line
then-
kind of runs
then I
down,
guess the city's gotta
somewhere
get
down the
involved with
street.
it, eh?
Yeah.
All the way
Yeah.
to Bassett
Big-
Farms,
I think
right?
there's like 8 legal spaces on that side of the street across from Stoughton's.
Yeah.
Everything's,
The corners are blocked.
every
Yeah.
sign says no parking at any time. Whether there's some kind of deal that they had made with them or compensation, I don't know.
Yeah.
And Spring Road, you answered. The comment that was made about the walkway, I got to kind of reiterate that these projects go, and they have these things going, and the police and the fire people go or asked to go to these places. It's costing us money for these people to go, especially if they use career people, and nobody reimburses anybody. All it does is add to the individual taxpayers' tax cost again.
Yes and no, because actually all the hotels are full.
Yeah.
It's bringing a lot
I
of
understand
people
what
in
you're saying
from
there,
out
but
of
that's
town.
not putting any money back in.
But they're eating
in
the
our
well-
coffers. It's got to come directly out of us in overtime
But
situations.
they're paying sales tax.
Yeah, the other thing too, not only the business, benefit the business, it also brings new people into the town. And, and they might like the town, they like the area, they might buy a house or a building. So
Okay.
we gotta look and I understand that. And we have to do is, when we talk to the chief, is that maybe in the future to increase the budget, because there are more events that coming. There's, people from New York
Increase
City.
the budget? You
Yeah,
can't afford to
we
increase the
don't-
budgets anymore.
I mean, I'm
And
saying.
we don't want to increase.
That's the problem.
Well-
Increasing the budget is the problem.
But maybe I'm
nobody's-
wrong in that, and I apologize for that, but what I'm saying is, we want new people to come
Yeah,
in into
fine.
into
Yeah, I
the county.
understand that. But they got to pay
People
their
that are
way
here
too.
are probably enjoying it.
They got to pay
I mean,
their way
us
and
as
back up us
residents
so we
are-
can give them those services.
But
the-
it's
way-
free advertising to bring people in,
It's
all
a
the
big thing.
restaurants, the hotels, let people know there's a little liquor store down there, there's
I
a deli down there.
understand, but that
and it all
doesn't help
helps.
the organizations that have got to take it out of their pocket to do these things for them. There's no reimbursement to help the outfits, the taxpayers, things that have to do it.
Yeah, I
We've
mean,
got set budgets too, and these things
yeah.
pop up.
I mean, I can't speak on behalf of Arlington Fire Company, but I know from the town's perspective and the police department, my view was, I think as a community, these events are important it's what makes us a
Yes,
community.
I
And,
don't disagree.
The first year, we know it's going to be an expense. We're estimating, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, somewhere in that range. Next year, we'll reevaluate it. But we wanted to be, kind of part of the solution, part of the plan this first year and give it a chance, and then we'll evaluate it next year. And as Doreen said, there is an entry fee. So if this gets to be a bigger event, they may have enough funding to provide the police protection. Maybe they can,
Yeah, but when
provide some
you get kind of blindsided with it,
compensation.
you don't know those costs are coming.
Yeah,
And you're not told
true.
to get ready for this or
No,
that. or
we didn't know
allow
it.
for this or
Budget
allow for
time.
that.
Right.
And all of a sudden, what do we do with it? We got to get
Yeah.
money back for the tax, people that their assessments were lowered.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get, all of a sudden, you got to come up with a few bucks to pay these people back from what tax
Yeah.
you already collected.
Right.
Well, I guess we got to look for a contingency plan on that too now.
Yeah.
But
Or next year, we could ask them to provide, private ambulance service to cover the event. So
Well,
there'd be
that's-
fewer calls for
that's-
you.
That's exactly what should probably happen with some of these affairs, to get the private organizations to come and do it and not tie up your regular. Because once they're there, from what I understand, they can't just leave most of the time. If they're being, especially if they're going to pay for it, because they're not paying for it, so I guess we could leave. But, I think some of these things got to be looked into with a little bit more insight, because the fire department, I know, is stressed. It's stressed. And it just can't keep going up. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
My name is Jim Kitcher. I lived in the town for it'll be 40 years in August. I've lived on Van Sicklen Drive all that time. We have a new representative that covers our area, Joey. They asked me to come and maybe I'm going to just try to go through those foils that I gave you without spending a lot of time, but their information and their information on what the street is like and what the thoughts have been and what's happened in the last essentially 30 or 40 years on our block. So that first drawing, again, it shows Route 9 on the right-hand side running north, and the parcel that we're most interested in and we've been working on now with the town for about 10 years, directly related to the Germano property, which was what I call it at this point in time. But you can see from this drawing that it was CRS. That was an automobile company that was in there right before Germano, and really probably they modified that building in a way that took it away from the retail process and made it more of a service building than the town intended, because it became a service building in 1989 as a result of a special use permit, and they were supposed to be a precision tune auto place in the back and using that driveway just to kind of get to the back to do, but there was a fire, and when the fire happened, apparently those bays got created, and there's no drawings in any of, and there's no building permits telling it happened. So you'll see it in a timeline before, but before that 1989, that building was a retail building.
It was an oil change place, wasn't it? Was it an oil change?
No, it became an oil change place in 1989 when Precision Tune moved. Before that, it was Jetco. They made auto covers for cars, and they did things in the building, and people, if anything, people only used the town property for a driveway to the back, or overflow parking. There was that whole wall which faces our street had no bays. It was all glassed in windows. If you look at the drawing from the Jetco period. Okay. So, in considering what the next guy is going to do, I'd love to have it go back to the way it was, where that building facing our street becomes just a solid wall, like the Hess that's on the other side of us is. It's the back of it is a solid wall. All the business goes out in the front on Route 9. So just something to think about. If you look at this drawing again, you'll see that we're bounded on the north by Hudson Plaza. Mm-hmm. Somehow or other, Mavis got added on to Hudson Plaza and comes right up within about 50 to 100 feet of number 8 Van Sicklin Drive, and the new Mavis sign that they put in the front that's giant and stays lit all day can be seen right from the living room window of a couple of the houses that are across from it, like what you would say as a house R on my little drawing. They can look across and see that light. And the people that can cross the street, Mike Smith, he's looking at it, and the way they put that building in and you allow them to do that, it forces, for the last 6 months, the traffic's been going around, but most of the time the big trucks goes through that space, right by.
I thought that was the auto repair from Montgomery Wards.
No.
There used to
Years
be,
ago
I believe.
it was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, probably was years ago,
Yeah.
when Montgomery Wards was there. We're talking
So this is a
20
new.
years ago.
This is a new building you're talking about?
No,
No, it's an
very
existing
old.
building.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I may be wrong, so
Yeah,
I'll
no,
stand corrected if it's.
Yeah.
Had the mattress place in it that just left.
Sleepy,
So
whatever
it's,
it is. Okay.
it's empty now.
Yeah, I had a several
What are we?
conversation.
We're talking about Mavis now,
He's
right?
talking
Oh, you're
about
talking
the-
about Mavis. Sorry, I was talking about.
Yeah. No, then I used to be in Montgomery
Yeah.
years ago, and then Mavis took over.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the main things that you could
When I first moved.
in the 70s, Hudson Harbor went in, and that they took the street. I used to have like a profile like this going from the road and out, and they kind of cut a road in, moved the whole property line of activity closer to the houses. And I'll just show you this one drawing. The two houses that are on the end there, if you see number, I guess, what do I have? I don't know what you can call it. They're H and S, I guess, H and S. They are, the back of their property drops off about 20 feet, and there's no fence right at that property boundary. I mean, these guys weren't required, they built this wall and they built this, but theoretically, somebody could fall down this whole hill. I mean, for a while there, we had triplets right across the street from us that owned that property, but nothing happened. But again, it's a thing where you don't necessarily see it in the drawings unless you're looking at the grading plan, and they on that side, and on the other side of the street is where, when they put in Oakwood Plaza, they cut this cut into the street and, again, move the whole sense of activity right adjacent to the street. Now, it's not necessarily obvious when you're doing it, but they're taking every advantage, and we're shrinking, and our neighborhood is shrinking. We're getting some advantages from that. I won't define that. I do go to Starbucks, and we do go and use the businesses, so it's not all negative. But they made this so steep that they had landscaping. They had landscaping actually planned down here. This is what happens. They were going to put a whole bunch of trees down here, but fortunately, they didn't leave any space to put the trees in. So the trees got moved over more to the east, where they help us screen us from Table Talk Diner and the other things that are in that business. So those are the other things that happened. The second drawing just gives you a little more sense of the size of the street, and that it bends around to the south, and that this is the property that we're talking about is this property at the corner, Germano's property, and it's bordered by a town. The town happens to own the strip of property from Van Sicklen Drive going towards the building. About half that space is owned by the town, and the other half has been given to that building the other half of it is owned by the building. So there's like 40 feet in there, and the building owns 20, the town owns 20. The town's, through the years, let people use it, but it was mainly a driveway. But Germano and the auto businesses slowly converted into a business area, allowing cars to park up against the fence, cars to back up into the fence and knock the fence down. All kinds of stuff happened. And there's a little, which I'm interested, Todd, that's that piece of land right there, the easternmost is listed as a parcel, but there's another parcel right south of, west of that, which you guys come and clean up once or twice a year. It's just 100 feet by about 30 feet, and it's used to have all trees, and now it's got a combination of weeds and trees and everything. But it's not even kind of listed. I don't know what it is.
I don't either.
We had Hess move in and expand towards me. I'm kind of right behind Hess, but they're like the example that nobody else could ever live up to. And 10 years ago, the building was owned by Amarada Hess. They put in hundreds of trees. They put in extra stuff. They kind of did what we always are looking for that now. That's just what I would like to have on the other side of the street. This is just a timeline. We've actually had some success. It's taken 10 years, maybe about 8 years to get we finally got the fence extended to where it's supposed to be. We got the end of the street where the street comes to Route 9 now has a defined landscape area where cars can't get through and cars can't be parked, but the landscape area has never gotten landscaped. All right, so this is just as a matter of interest, I'll put this up. This is from 2008. This is Laura Wadowitz's time period ahead of the planning department, and she kind of wrote up several, call it, criticisms and drove Chasen and Germano to try to do a lot. And in fact, this plan shows not only a landscaped area on this side, it shows a whole landscaped area on the side where the Hudson River,
Hudson
Hudson
Plaza.
Harbor traffic comes out. So there's a whole document in the files of what landscaping could be like, maybe what they thought then what it should be like. I don't know. Again, when Neil came into power or was appointed, he tried to be a little bit more easier on Germano and ask him to do a little bit less. And then other people tried to get him to buy the property, and other people did other things, and the result was not much happened for 5 years, and he stonewalled everybody and played everybody. And we still don't have any landscaping is what I'm after, you know, and it's really not that big an area, not that much to do if we can figure out something. I don't know what exactly it should be. The last 2 pages here, kind of, I won't even go talk about them at all. They're my thoughts on what should go into the special use permit if you're going to give a special use permit for somebody to use this building. I don't know how. I don't know whether you don't know the owners or whether
This property has fallen into bankruptcy, and it was purchased by a gentleman that came in maybe 3 weeks ago out of bankruptcy. He didn't have any definitive plans as to what he was going to do with the building. You know, I was hoping he'd actually tear it down and put something new up and kind of start over. He didn't really have any plans. I was a little disappointed, to be honest with you, in his planning. I was hoping he'd come with a lot more and have a lot more substance, but he really didn't. So, I had said to him, and I think I told Mr. Kitcher, I think I told you this, this little sliver of land, I don't know how the town ever got it, but I told the new owner, look, if you were interested in it, we can put a value on it and sell it to you and get rid of this crazy system here where the town owns a little sliver, but we haven't heard back from him. We told him, kind of gave him some just verbal guidance. If you do, certain repairs, you're gonna need building permits, so on and so forth. He didn't really know what he was gonna do with the property at this point. I don't know how well he investigated the property. I don't know him, so he wasn't from this area. He seemed to indicate he has a building or two over in the Middletown area.
But right now, he's put up in our landscaped area another big white sign. It's actually on the town property, nailed to that pole, which in the Laura Wadowitz time period, that pole was going to come down, and we wouldn't have an advertising pole right in the middle, right? There's a big
For sale sign or something like that?
There's a freestanding pole there that stands,
Yeah.
and he's got a big sign that's like the size of this desk nailed up there, and as well as the signage on the face of the building.
What's it say?
For
And
sale.
it says for sale or leased and this and that, but he's using the town property, which I'd like to have landscaped so that people coming down the street, or if they want to buy my house, the first thing they don't see is, a big whiteboard full of real estate information or something. That's
Yeah, we'll have to see, I
So
don't-
you're letting him do that again?
don't
It's
know
your
where
property, he put it
yeah.
up there. My whole question is, you guys own this property. Again, the town owns this property. I guess I own this property.
Mm-hmm.
You've owned it for a long time. You've let other people use it. You've kind of given them right to abuse it, and then you've tried to stop them from abusing it, but didn't have enough power.
Well, I don't know if they abused it. They used it, as you said, as a parking area, and I think years ago when that building was made into more of a garage situation, those bays were put on the side, that's probably when it was
Yeah,
done.
but it was never approved by the town, those bays. You go find it in the
Well,
records. It's
right.
not there. It just happened,
I mean,
and
right. I mean, we can look at the for sale sign and I don't know
I was
why
saying,
it's on
hey,
town
if you want to
property,
leave the
but
for
if,
sale sign up, do some
He's gotta put it
landscaping,
on
so
his
that when you
own.
take it down, there's some landscaping.
Yeah.
I did talk to Mark Piper, he's gonna look into it, and again, I had a conversation with Ms. Kitchener, and, I mean, some of his concerns are legit, and I told him also that hopefully a new owner of that building will
Hope
get
so.
on, you know, and
But-
trying to
but-
do a better job.
I still can't, you talked about spending $3,000 for this, I mean, you've been our neighbor, the town has been our neighbor
Mr.
for
Kitchen, to be honest with
50
you,
years.
I don't think the town, you're gonna, and I'm just speaking for myself, but I don't think you're gonna see the day that the town's gonna put landscaping in that little sliver, right off Route 9. I don't think it would survive. I think it's an extremely hot area. It's gonna get salt all over it. I just don't think that's gonna happen. I agree with Councilman Lepore. I think our best hope, and I was hopeful that this new owner would do something with this property, really. My preference would be tear that building down and let's start with something new, something fresh, so the whole thing can be landscaped. I don't think the town's gonna make an investment in that little corner piece and put landscape in there, to be honest with you. I think we'd be willing to sell it to the new owner to try to clean up that situation. But if others feel differently, they can, I'm just one vote, but I don't see us putting landscaping in that spot, to be honest with you. I would like to see the new owner clean that site up. The building's old, it's beat up, like I said a couple times now, in my opinion, the best thing to do would be take it down and start fresh, but
I know, those are,
It's not my
I mean,
money
these are
either,
the
you know?
ideas that kind of have kept us for 10 years from doing anything, because everybody else
Well,
has
it's a
their own
funny-
idea. Your
yeah.
own people drew these plans up,
It's a
your own
very
planning
strange.
department, your own.
I understand, but that's whatever happened 10 years ago, water under the bridge. It's done.
Yeah, well,
The property's not even owned by Mr. Germano anymore. So the licensing agreement or whatever was put in place, he went bankrupt. The property
Yeah, I
is
know,
sold by
I know,
the county.
you had,
But it's water under
you
the
had
bridge.
7 years to
But it
kind of
didn't
get him
happen.
to do something, and
It didn't
he
happen.
went bankrupt,
It didn't happen.
and it didn't happen.
Right.
And
Right.
you have to take responsibility for that.
For-
Not at
fine,
the end
I'm-
declare, well, all of a sudden, although we were planning to do
I'm sitting
something.
here telling you
ain't-
it didn't happen, so
it isn't worth
there
doing.
is responsibility. I don't think it was worth doing then. It wasn't I didn't vote,
Yeah.
I don't know if I voted for that plan, I don't even know if I was on the board, but I don't think it's worthwhile for the town to make that kind of investment. I honestly don't think, you may disagree with me, I don't think it's gonna increase the value of property very much. Stick a couple shrubs in that corner between Van Sicklen and Route 9. What will improve your property is if we get a decent, and not that the new owner's not decent, I don't know him, but if we get a good owner in there to do something nice with this property, it's an old building, I don't know how the town got this little sliver, it is what it is, but I'm hopeful we can get a decent owner in there that'll really do something nice with that entire piece.
The other thing,
Well, I was gonna say.
yeah, and I didn't
I mean-
mention.
Since it's town property, I am not opposed to you getting a neighborhood group together and planting whatever the heck you want in there to make it look prettier.
And I did mention that too, and I will be happy to volunteer as well to, with the neighbors and put something, like I said, it's a small piece. And,
It's an idea, if we
Yeah.
get permission to do it, I was always
Want to
afraid to
go
do
over
it.
to, I mean,
No, we can work that out. I mean, we can get you permission, I'm sure the highway department will drop a load of soil in there if that helps.
That needs it. You
bet
can't.
you-
Those things we
can't
can
put a
definitely
pick.
do.
I'll bet you if you went up to Adams, asked them to donate some plants and put a sign out there, Adams.
I don't know about donation of plants, but we can work with you about a discount, okay?
I mean, if you.
We're gonna put a tractor on there,
Now I think I like where this is going.
Yeah, we can definitely do things like that, Mr. Kitcher, get a load of soil there, give you permission to do some
I
plantings.
still, I mean, I hear what your opinion is, but the town owns the property, and our residents have been negatively affected by what the town has allowed to happen with that property,
Well, I don't know.
And again, like I was saying, I've been through, 3 supervisors you know.
In 40
three
years,
plant-
you've
three
been through
plant-
more than three, but,
No, I mean, in the last
yeah.
10 years dealing with this.
Yeah.
Before this, there was,
The biggest change to that building, you're right, with a side base put on. I don't know when it happened, how it happened, what the circumstances were. That's the biggest change. Other than that, this piece of property the town's owned hasn't changed, it's changed very little. I think the biggest change, as you said, is a stockade fence was put up, which we continue to have to repair because it's starting to rot, to try to shield your view. But outside of, you know, those changes to the building, this piece of property the town's owned has changed very little over the years. It's a little sliver of land, there's,
the property didn't change, but what was there on the property changed. You know, the whole corner became covered with cars and
well, yeah.
parking and everything
Germano,
else. And
right.
But it's done. It's, again, it was past. We're gonna look in the
Yeah,
future.
yeah, we
and
gotta
make
try
it
to
better
figure
for
out
the-
a way. I'm
yeah,
just trying to-
absolutely.
If we can
I'm
get
just-
some shrubbery donated or come up with, you know, some way to
Transplant my own
acquire
stuff.
some, you know, we can get some soil in there, we can get a volunteer crew together and we can get some things planted if that would help. Definitely, we can
Thank you.
definitely work on that.
How about some projects that are
Us as seniors,
clearing? Perhaps they
seniors.
could move some of their stuff.
The
Yeah,
what?
I mean, I can move some of my
Yeah,
own stuff
yeah.
up there.
You know, I mean, I've often seen people.
Yeah,
their
transplanting,
land,
you
and I
mean?
see some nice
Yeah.
bushes in there. I wouldn't mind digging out myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Never know.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Kidder.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else? Seeing no one, I make a motion to resume the rules.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Brings us to the end of our agenda. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town board adjourns at 7:50.